Welcome back to the Musicians Insight podcast, where I sit down with incredible musicians from all corners of the music industry. Today we have a fantastic trumpet player that I have the privilege of having a conversation with, where we hopefully will talk about some cool stuff, music industry, gigging, military band stuff, equipment, technique, everything hopefully will come up and we'll chat about today. My name is Jeff Jopik. I'm an Atlanta-based trumpet player and music educator. Today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Staff Sergeant Kevin Paul of the United States Army Pershing's own Ceremonial Band. You're a Ceremonial Band trumpeter, is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm a ceremonial band bugler, and I also have the privilege to play with the Herald Trumpets.
Oh, that is just so fantastic. Thank you so much for sitting down. Welcome. Feel free to say your mind and let's have a fun conversation. How are you doing? How's playing going? How's life going during COVID right now?
Jeff, I just want to say thanks for having me on. This is such a cool idea. I've really enjoyed your sessions with all these other amazing players that I feel like I'm not on that echelon of the amazing players that you've had on there. So I'm it's an honor for me to be here and talking with you. I'm just trying to do what everyone is doing, I guess, just trying to keep my chops up, keep myself honest on the trumpet. Um, Having, besides doing my job and playing funerals at Arlington National Cemetery, right now it's just buglers only or socially distanced brass ensembles with percussionists. Um, we just had the inauguration. That was the first full band thing that I have done in almost a year. And you probably saw it on TV. We had the escort band, which I was in, and the Herald Trumpets also played. And we had the Marine Band was there. That's our sister organization. And that was really cool. It was great to just, it was so weird with the whole COVID protocol in there. Like everyone has to take breaks. You have to be far away from each other. I mean, we had to take several tests. But it's such an honor to be able to do that. Other things that I'm doing, like this COVID's kind of like the only great aspect of COVID is all the content that you see from other people out there. Everyone's sort of had to create new ways to reach other people or contribute or to, just for fun. And we started something called militarytrumpetjobs.com.
That is one thing that I absolutely wanted to talk about because the content that you guys are putting out, specifically, all of it has been fantastic. But the last thing that you put out, the Festive Overture, I believe it was Festive Overture, right? It was the last thing you did, was, some of the best playing I've ever heard. The most in tune, stylistically incredible. I sent that to everyone. I was like, can you believe these guys? Just having a benchmark to play stuff like that and all the stuff that you put out, having a benchmark to play Some of the Heroes, Festive Overture, Capriccio Italienne, all these different things. It's really cool. And the variety of players that you're getting is really cool. Where did that all start? What what's your goal with that? What's the organization's like purpose and goal?
Well, I'll kind of go from the very beginning of this, and I'll make a long story short. One of my old teachers at Manhattan School of Music, Tom Smith, called me about 5 years ago and was like, hey, I got this student that went to a Marine recruiter, and he said that if my student enlisted in the Marines, he would have any pick of any Marine band, including President's Own. And I was like, please tell me he didn't do that, because that is just not correct at all. And luckily, he was going to go the next day to do that, and luckily he didn't. And this is a wonderful trumpet player who's been advancing in our audition at Pershing's Own and the Navy Band and all these other auditions, and I'm sure he's going to win one. But that would have just that lack of information or like not knowing
how the process works.
Yeah, how the process works. It just, the misinformation out there and myth busting that I have to do with that. So I'm glad he reached out to me and he said, "Would you like to come to Manhattan School and Manus and kind of give like a little talk about this?" And I was like, "That'd be great." So I got a trumpet ensemble together, the Army Trumpet Ensemble, a member of each premier band. We all went to school over there, and we invited the instructor of the School of Music, who's a wonderful trumpet player. Um, and we went on a tour with like all the schools, Manhattan, Manus, Rutgers, SUNY Purchase, anything you can think of, in that area. And we gave a recital and a master class. We had kids sit in with us on section playing and talked about audition process. And we put a video out there of it and saying like this was like a really fun tour. And then I got all these other responses of people all over the country wanting to have us do this. We've gone on 6 tours. We're going to be presenting at ITG. We presented at NTC, and yeah, so it sort of turned into that's how MTJ was created. We wanted to create a resource online that was free and accessible, that myth busted, gave people all the information they want, and encouraged people to take these auditions because a lot of people just don't understand what we do or what other bands do.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, not everyone knows, like, the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps just plays bugles, or the Hellcats or the concert band. They don't know what the West Point band is. It supports the cadets. So they play, a lot. It's awesome. They play out of like the Army Navy game. They play graduations. They also do like concerts, outside in the park there. But
I have a
lots of people.
classmate in the Hellcat. He's a Hellcat bugler. Daniel Haddock. He won his
Oh, yeah.
audition out of he was getting his graduate degree at Florida State, and he won the audition and was like, "I'm done with Florida State. Here we go." Fantastic trumpet player, unbelievable trumpet player.
That's an awesome job. It's just so different than what I do playing at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, at the White House, the Pentagon, and Arlington National Cemetery. They're all so different, and people don't understand that. Also, the Army is the largest employer of musicians in the world. I think we have 99 Army bands. There's so many opportunities for a full-time job. So it's just nice that, if someone knows about that, that's at least an option. It's not for everyone, but at least it's an option, you know. So that's how that started. And we started giving that out, and we've kind of make it grow and grow and grow. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, I've always wanted to record all these excerpts because we just had a Pershing's Own audition where people just, in an audition, it's not just putting your phone out and just playing in your living room, or editing or just the way things are supposed to be played. There's so we put all the recordings of some of the Marine band, Air Force band, all the excerpts there, all the recordings and videos of those specific excerpts, so people have context. We created backtracks so they can play along, like a music -1 for a trumpet player to play outdoor or Ives or any of those excerpts. And then we recorded all the excerpts ourselves just to kind of like practice what we preach, like just to kind of it's not perfect. It's not like Phil Smith or some of the amazing artists we've had on, but it is what a premier band like trumpet player, the average premier band trumpet player, what we expect at an audition, But also, to take that up a notch, we kind of expanded, and we invited, Davy Day Armand and Matt Harriman. They're both the trumpet players at the Naval Academy Band, and Davy collaborated with us, and we created a military band excerpt duet book, and we're releasing one duet a week with a major collaborator. So we've had, a great trumpet player at the New England Conservatory, a tree teacher at the New England Conservatory, and second trumpet of the Boston Symphony play one of them. We had Chris Smith, principal trumpet of the San Diego Symphony, who used to be in the Marine Band, and we're releasing one with Tony Prisk tomorrow. He's the second trumpet of the Philadelphia Orchestra and teacher at Peabody, and these are wonderful players.
Mm-hmm.
We're grouping with a premier band player. It's just it's good professional development for us. We enjoy the collaborations, and it's amazing to hear these phenomenal players. It sort of sets the the bar real high, which is great, to hear and perform with these. And then you could perform with them too. We make it that accessible as well.
And
And we have some.
the was one of the first ones you did, Some of the Heroes. Was that was, I know that's one that you did. Um, and what was cool about that one is, I've tried to play that, and lots of people try to play that. The biggest thing I find, it challenge when I try to play it is tempo and timing, and playing free, but staying, sticking to the tempo and everything. And there's a lot of recordings out there where people play, it's sort of like Wikipedia, the internet, YouTube. You can put anything out there, and when you search something, you could get either one of the best recordings ever, or you could get one of somebody's takes that they did in their bedroom. And to see, an Army trumpet player at an extremely high level play a very difficult excerpt perfectly is just like the textbook that you should be going off of, based on, as opposed to Wikipedia. So, like, seeing those excerpts in these players, it really is like, this is how this is played. If you want to audition, it should sound like this, which is a really cool idea.
Well, thank you for saying that. I try. We have a very special collaborator coming up, playing Some of the Heroes in the next 2 weeks with as the duet form. I'm really excited to release that one. I'm not going to say who it is, but it is an awesome trumpet player, probably one of my favorite trumpet players orchestrally of all time. So I'm very excited. I mean, it's really cool. We never expected anyone to agree. You just have to ask. I just realized that, we just ask, and people are willing to collaborate, and
And
people
that's
are
what
really
I'm
nice, and it's yeah,
That's
it's
what I'm
very
doing
similar.
with this. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag coming through. But yeah, it's very similar to this. And, I never expected some of the people that I've asked to do this to be interested in having a conversation. But that's one of the things that especially if at no other time, that COVID is bringing to the table as one positive. The biggest reason that decided to start having these conversations and putting them online is because of a conversation that I had with you at the beginning of COVID, when I was, there was this Facebook group where there was a new excerpt or etude or a piece every day, and it was fantastic. It's kind of unsustainable. It's kind of hard to keep up for more than, the few months that we were doing it, because COVID lasted a little bit longer than I think people want to learn learn, record, and post a new excerpt every single day. But, you were in that group, and it was, I had never heard your name before, heard your playing, and there are a lot of great players in there, a lot of amateur players, a lot of professional players, and you know, then everybody knew, like, okay, if, we're all going to post this, and then we're going to listen to these people and how they did it. And you were one of those people, and I just reached out to you, never met you before. You had never met me before. And I just reached out on Instagram and said, hey, would you want to chat? And you were like, absolutely. So we sat down and we talked for an hour and a half. And that was honestly the first time that I had reached out to somebody that I didn't know and just had a conversation. And I, got so much out of that. And, having those conversations with people, I had them with a few people, and I said, why, people should hear some of this stuff. People have great things to offer, and putting that out for other people to listen to. You can't have a conversation with 20,000 people. Hopefully this gets 20,000 views. But but now that we're having a conversation, other people can hear it. And I think that's really special. And the other big reason I decided to do this, and one of the first people I thought of was Dave Detweiler, who I just put out his podcast a few days ago. He was my teacher for 10 years, and I heard, hundreds of stories, hundreds of, thousands of bits of information that formed who I am as a trumpet player, music educator, and human. And I was like, I went to college, and I was like, y'all should check out Dave Detweiler. If he's ever coming, we should go see him. And I told a bunch of people about him because I had gotten so much out of our conversations. And so I thought, well, now I have the opportunity to have a conversation with him, and other people who don't know him, who don't have access to talking to him in the DC area, can hear what he has to say. So I think, you know, our conversation and other conversations during COVID were really instrumental in my inspiration to start doing this. And I appreciate, you know, you giving me that opportunity to just chat during COVID. It's really been fun to meet new people and things like that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that sentiment. Like it's such a collaborative art form, and like I I feel like there are the correlations between our, you know, what I'm with the duets that I'm doing with MTJ in this podcast. It's great for people to be able to hear these great players, whether it's, you know, my one of my collaborators hearing someone like, you know, Tony Prisk or, you know, Chris Smith, or being able to hear what those amazing trumpet players have to say. Um, yeah, it's such a collaborative art form. Everyone in the age of information, more of this stuff needs to happen, and it's sad that a pandemic kind of, you know, made that possible. But I hope it continues after the pandemic because, man, I know I have a long commute to work, coming from Maryland to Washington D.C. I know I'm what podcast I'm listening to. It's this and, you know, Ryan Beaches. There's now all these great sources of information that, and I'm yeah, it's really exciting to see how everything is changing. People that you don't normally have access to, now you have access.
And the world, the trumpet playing specifically, the trumpet playing world is a lot smaller than you might think. It's really cool to, you know, I'll throw out a name and you're like, oh yeah, I know this person. I'm here in Alabama. You're in the DC area, and we're talking about somebody in Toronto. You know, like we might not have all met each other, but we know each other's playing. We know what we're about, the awesome information that other people have to offer. So, you know, meeting these people and just, you know, expanding who knows who and what are you getting from this person and all that kind of stuff is really cool. And I appreciate you coming on here to chat with me.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is yeah, it's fun. And that Bud Not Corona group, that was so awesome and everything that I needed. I met so many people, you know, from major orchestra to, you know, college, to some amazing college players, you know, like it was great to meet you on there. I mean, like some incredible teachers
You heard
and people
my
from all walks.
my roommate, the big guy with the big beard. Do you remember seeing his videos?
Fantastic. I met, yeah, he put out this like piccolo trumpet thing that was just awesome. Like he's something he made.
There was like
I thought that was
there was
just
a
so
heavy
cool.
metal there was a heavy metal thing that he did. He's big into heavy metal, and
Yeah.
he plays a little metal guitar, and he transcribed some of his favorite, like, you know, polymeter stuff and put it on piccolo trumpet and stuff. Now he's studying at Juilliard and just killing it, and he, you know, people know him now from that group, which is cool.
Yeah, there's so many people that I've met that I've never met in real life, but we became very good friends. And I just thought that is so cool. And it's like the age of information and social media can, you know, no matter the music can stop, but it never actually does stop, you know, where it
Mhm.
was so great to just have that. And people, I probably made friends for life, you know, like I still reach out to those people that, you know, and I still connect with them on social media. And I'm sure when I see them for a real gig one day, it'll be like, yo, it's finally great to meet you. You know, like
Absolutely.
one guy in there, Andrew Bishop. I
Oh
still
my
often
gosh.
just an unreal trumpet player, and I bother him all the time with advice. So it's really just cool to just meet people like that. Like, you know, keeps you
A-
honest for sure.
Alex Mayon. There was this guy in there, Alex Mayon, I think is his name. Unbelievable trumpet player. I loved seeing his stuff. He went to Manhattan, didn't he? Or Eastman or
I
Manhattan? Eastman. Okay. Um, yeah. Well, when you're not doing social media stuff and your military trumpet, what is it? Military trumpet jobs? Is that what it's called?
yeah,
When you're not doing all
military
that,
trumpet jobs.
yeah. When you're not doing all that awesome stuff, um, what is your, you know, career like in the Army band? I know there's a lot of facets. I was talking to Josh about this yesterday. Um, there's, you know, he's talking about how he plays with the blues, but he also plays with, you know, if they're putting together a whole orchestra, like recording orchestra, or if playing with the ceremonial band, the concert band, like, I know there's a huge variety of opportunities in there. What do you do? What do you enjoy doing? What do you get excited about the most? Things like that.
Well, so I have as a trumpet player, I do a lot of bugle missions. I play this during the pandemic. We'll talk about pandemic. Um, like I played for the Minister of Defense. Well, I guess we'll talk before pandemic. So I guess on a regular day basis, my fourth. This is something it's really special to me. My fourth week on the job. Well, my first day on the job was an arrival with the French president of France, Macron, at the White House. So I have a picture of me where he's doing the pass review. So it's Trump and Macron were walking like literally 5 to 10 feet in front of me while I'm playing Hands Across the Sea, which is actually really hard. Like after we've been playing marches for a long time too.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just sort of cool as my first day, and that's what it was. 4 weeks later, I was playing with the Herald Trumpets, which is something that I really enjoy doing. It was my first time playing with the Heralds for an RFK ceremony, 50th anniversary ceremony. And I remember seeing like Obama and Clinton and all these, like the Kennedys and anyone in the DNC you can think of. Kenny Chesney was there, and like the Rock. That was like really weird. But yeah, anyway, so I'm playing. We played this like a fanfare or two, and we walked off and was wearing the whites. I was like, this is really cool. Being one of the younger people, I had to go right after to a tomb shift. So basically, something that probably my absolute favorite thing to do is playing at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier as a bugler. Anytime there's a wreath for a dignitary, a school, a senator, congressman. It could be anyone, or an honor flight, which is really special. So I go and I play my first wreath. It was an honor flight. Play my second wreath, and then I see it's an RFK wreath, and I see Obama and Clinton like watching, and I'm at me like very, and I'm like, oh my God, my heart's racing. I see cameras. And I'm like, oh, TV cameras and everything. I'm going, heart's beating out of my chest. I'm like, I can't miss this. I can't miss this. We're walking. We do our thing. I play taps. It was clean. I was like, oh, so I could tell my kids one day. I turn around. They're gone. I was like, okay, that's good. This is a really cool story. And I go back into the tomb quarters, and we get a phone call, and they're like, hey, Sergeant B, 30 of us, they all call us Sergeant B instead of by our name. They're like, POTUS wants to meet you. And I was like, what? I was like, which one? They're like, both. I was like, okay. So I ended up, talking in there and going into, like a little corridor inside the chapel under the columbarium. And, I got to shake hands, meet, there's a picture of me like shaking hands with Clinton, talking to him, showing him my bugle. I think he said to me, he's like, sounds good, keep bugling. But it was just an incredible experience. Like, you never know who you're going to play for, and there's so much meaning behind, like whether it's an honor flight, someone struggling to get out of their wheelchair just to salute while you play taps, or for someone who's lost a loved one. And it's just like those 24 notes have so much meaning, and it just feels good to contribute to with music that way.
Mm-hmm.
I do play.
That's a tough 24 notes.
Yes, it is. We have to have a very high success rate.
Dave taught me he was in the Army, and he did that for a long time. I don't know if he did it at the tomb, but he taught me the Army way, as opposed to other service bands play it a little bit differently. And on the day this past, was it Memorial Day, where we did the taps across America, and then I was actually taking some video lessons with him at the beginning of quarantine. And the first thing he said when I got on a lesson with him, he was like, all right, take out your horn, play taps right now. This is like right after he had seen thousands of people play it, and he was like, I will bet you a quarter that you do not play it correctly. he said he's had, and I was like, Mr. D, you taught me how to play taps. Like, I remember you teaching me how to play taps. So I played it the way he taught me. And he was like, all right. He said, I've won about $10 and I just lost a quarter. So, playing it, it's a little nuanced, and I felt very proud of my performance on Zoom. But it's nuanced, and it's the sustain and the rhythm and all that stuff. I can imagine how nerve-wracking that would be, playing at the Tomb in front of two presidents.
That's for sure. But yeah, awesome. Yeah, Dave is so awesome. Yeah, there's like a Pershing's way of phrasing, that's a little different than the others. I guess there's no break da da dee da da da, and that's the kind of the. There's certain other nuances. There's so many other nuances to it. But yeah, I mean, like we on top of that, like I've subbed in concert band, and we have a brass ensemble and trumpet ensemble. There's a ceremonial band, and then on top of all of that stuff, there's the bunch of great gigs outside. But the things that I do at the Army Band that are not trumpet, I'm one of the audition coordinators. So I'm working every single audition, which is fascinating to me. I'm also one of the I'm the ceremonial historian. So I'm in charge of like all the history at for buglers and quintet heralds, ceremonial band, and that's been super fun since we have a 100th anniversary coming up. So there's a lot of you have to wear a bunch of different hats, but it's been super fun.
Yeah, when you're playing taps at the Tomb, I've been very fascinated and watched a lot of videos about the changing of the guard and the uniforms and all that stuff. Do you guys stay down? Do you go down there with them? Do you see all that stuff happening? Are is your uniform held to sort of like that standard? How does that all work with the Sentinels? I guess they're called.
Yeah, we actually have a good relationship with the Sentinels. We're writing an article actually about that, and we've just collaborated with the. There's an interview out there of me, the former enlisted leader of TUSAB, who's also was a bugler, and then the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier president, who was a Tomb Guard as well. There's a special bond between the buglers and the Tomb Guards or Sentinels, and they have a very specific uniform that they wear, and we have our distinctive specific uniform that we wear. And yeah, we have I have and I'm sure Josh and Dave did as well. I have a specific uniform that is always pristine and clean, higher shoes to match the Tomb Guards. We have specific Oakleys that match the Tomb Guards, and like I have special gloves that I don't wear anywhere else in the cemetery but except for the tomb. So I know when I'm at the tomb, I am looking. I mean, I'm always trying to look really good, but specifically at the tomb, we want to match everything there. I mean, everyone and everyone's mother has a phone out right in front of you there. It's probably like the highest honor I'll have on the playing trumpet would be at the tomb. I mean, it's all an honor, but that specifically is such a special place.
Absolutely. And you said you have the privilege of playing with the Herald Trumpets. That's one of the coolest things in the entire world. I think we had them. So EJ Ramos went to school with Mark Dagodi, who I think you a little bit, right?
Yeah, I quintet toured over there, and also we're in the same Royale clan.
He said to give you a bit of a hard time for finishing with more trophies than he did.
He almost got me, but then yeah, I had to stop playing the last 2 days because I knew he wouldn't catch up to me, and I didn't want to lose the trophies. But yeah,
That's so funny. Yeah,
he's a great.
he's a great guy. Yeah, he is, and he's friends with EJ Ramos, and we got to Auburn University. Had the privilege of having them come down and play with our marching band. We played a little bit of Some of the Heroes with them, a little bit of what's the Copeland Fanfare for a Common Man. We played Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, where they played a bunch of stuff, and they also got to play. Or we had the honor of playing with them behind us at a Symphonic Winds concert, where we did the full Summon the Heroes. We did like a Copeland Copeland like medley, festive overture, that kind of stuff. So, and we played the national anthem where our trumpet section that I was in got to stand up and play with their arrangement of the national anthem, with all the high notes on the soprano coming out at the end, and all that stuff. And we got to meet and have a masterclass with Kevin Gibo and EJ and Michael Cano. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Mike Cano, Kevin Gibo. Those are awesome. Those are actually all my bosses. But the 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 Herald Trumpets, it's only a ceremonial band thing. And it's done by seniority. Everyone gets a chance to do it because the top 8 people in the section who've been in the longest, like they can't do all of the missions, the Herald Trumpet missions. So it goes down the list of people. So I've had so many opportunities, but the longer I'm in, the more I do it, and it's just a very, very special thing. For all of us in the ceremonial trumpet section to be able to play in the official fanfare ensemble of the President of the United States. It is something like one of the first times I was on the top of the Truman balcony. So when you see the White House, that balcony with Beale, that is just one of the coolest views and like feelings when you're playing like fanfares, like loud, high bliss fanfares for dignitaries coming up. It's a really cool thing.
I think my favorite one, they in the middle of our concert, they played their own little mini concert of a couple fanfares. The one, and we got a recording of it. The one that I could not stop listening to, I believe it was Heroic Fanfare, with the drum. Like it's the most grooving thing I've ever heard, and it sounds so good. I haven't listened to it in a while, but I remember just listening to that going, that is just grooving and so fun to listen to. I love listening to that. Do y'all still play that?
Yeah, actually, so when we heroic fanfare is something we play, in concerts, and for clinics. There's like every time we go outside on a balcony, we have like a set list that we all memorize that we play. So, yeah, heroic is usually in concert or clinic, kind of a thing, and then the other ones would be bliss, jubilant fanfare, bliss and B. And then there's this other one that Denny Edelbrock, Sergeant Major retired Denny Edelbrock did, and that's Salute to a New Beginning, where the E flats just like rip up to high Fs. That anthem that Mirtha wrote is pretty cool. Like another thing we do is, I played. This was one of the cool. 2 years ago, I did with the Heralds. We did an anthem at the Pittsburgh Steelers game, and I got to bring my dad with me. Afterward, when it was awesome to play that, and then we got to sit on the field and watch the game afterward. So that to me was a very special moment.
That's killer. That's so cool. And you were talking a little bit about the Army Trumpet Ensemble. I know I've seen the Army Trumpet Ensemble. Were you one of the ones playing at NTC at Kentucky?
Yeah. So
I saw that live, which was really cool, in that very dead room. I remember it like it was the deadest room I've ever heard. So it was weird listening to trumpet in there, but that was really cool to hear.
Yeah, that was that's cool. But yeah, I remember seeing performance, and it was fun to do the clinics there, and we also tried lots of bourbon.
Yeah.
Kentucky's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had a fun time. We were competing in the small trumpet ensemble division there, and it was cool because the Heralds had just come to Auburn, so we got to see. I had met EJ, and EJ was playing in that trumpet ensemble, and we had actually performed. There's a Great Day Coming. So to hear you guys play that was really cool. That is a heck of a piece of music. Really fun, but is there a difference between the Army trumpet ensemble and like the Pershing's own trumpet ensemble? I think I've seen videos of them of a different group doing like cyclones and Bach Vivaldi and things like that.
Yeah, so our trumpet section, Pershing Zone, we have a trumpet ensemble, um, and it's a great group, and it's very similar to the Army trumpet ensemble. So the Pershing Zone trumpet ensemble, and they've like toured around for years, like to Sydney, Australia, to NTC, ITG, anything like that. The Army trumpet ensemble is a different group because it's more of an educational um, recital. Basically, since there's one person from the West Point band, one person from Pershing Zone, one person from the field band, there's one person from the old Old Fife and Drum Corps, and the instructor at the School of Music. We kind of talk about each group, each bugle, which I guess we don't really do in Pershing Zone trumpet. So the Army trumpet ensemble, we go through and we demonstrate what they do at the Hellcats with Reveille. We'll have an accompanied version of taps that we had Yari Villanueva uh, um, arrange the Knox harmonization for trumpet ensemble. It actually is really, really nice.
I recorded that
And we,
on Memorial Day last year. I think I did like a little. It was a terrible recording, but I just tried to do as a beautiful, beautiful rendition of taps.
oh, well, any rendition of taps is beautiful, no
Hmm.
matter what. But yeah, so we do that, and then we play like going on our trumpet ensemble arrangement of going home, or um, to kind of talk about what we do in Arlington. Then we also play a Herald Trumpet fanfare as a trumpet ensemble. We arrange it so we have three flugels and five like three B flats and one E flat trumpet, and we play like a fanfare that you would typically hear, arranged for us, and we would talk about it would show a herald trumpet, and we would play one of the Pershing Zone herald trumpets, like demonstration of hail to the chief, and talk about that. We'd play Band of Brothers and talk about what the field band does on tour and reaching out to veterans. Um, and then we'd play a great day, or Ryan Brewer's arrangement or adaptation of Just a Closer Walk for trumpet ensemble, or God Bless the USA, and we kind of talk about the different facets of all the jobs and what's available, and like what you can do, and you know I think that's the difference between the Army trumpet ensemble and the Pershing Zone trumpet ensemble.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I saw you. I saw a video before I went to NTC. I saw a video of the ensemble do something at Columbus State University at the Schroeb School of Music too, um, and to see to see the explanation of this is this bugle and what it's used for. This is what this is used for. Here's the herald trumpet. Here's how they walk. And play. Things like that is really cool. Um,
Yeah, I would say, and that's a good question actually, because Pershing Zone trumpet ensemble, they we'll play at like the World War II Memorial or the Air and Space Museum, and we'll just give like just a nice concert, of music and repertoire. It'll be more of like a musical experience. And not that the Army Trumpet Ensemble is not a musical experience, but it's more of like a lecture recital.
yeah,
Talk
for
about like,
sure.
hey, this is the bugle that, or the herald that plays at, the White House, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, awesome. Last time we talked, the in what led up to doing this, and what I got a lot of information out. You were chatting with me a little bit about your equipment and your commercial stuff. Do you enjoy playing commercial trumpet? Do you do any of that? Like, what's sort of your experience with equipment and jobs and your enjoyment with that kind of stuff?
That's funny you asked me that. So, I've the
I know.
gig.
By the way, sorry, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, but this is just something that stuck out to me.
Oh yeah, no worries. I'm constantly always trying to figure things out. Um, Freelance, I'm all over the place. Whether it's playing like second in some show or third, at a playhouse, or I'm playing chamber opera, or I'm playing an opera, or I'm playing an orchestra, piccolo trumpet with an organ. There's a lot of work out there, and it's you have to wear a couple different hats. Um, Especially in concert band as well, you have to be able to play stuff like West Side Story, or Star Trek, and then you have to be able to, play symphonic repertoire or band repertoire, which is all very different, and it's all, if you're playing principal, you're up in the same tessitura for 2 hours, which is what I did in the field band. I did a lot, I would play second or third on the commercial piece, and then I would play first on like the symphonic, regular first solo cornet stuff like Romeo and Juliet or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I'm always trying to look for the best equipment, and I'm not an equipment guy, but I have a Greg Black 3S that works really well because I've been doing a lot of pops orchestra stuff like Superman or Star Trek or something like that, which is I've been doing a lot of that stuff, especially before the pandemic. Not really anymore. Except I gave a kind of like a little lesson on Star Trek to a good friend who's a wonderful player. But yeah, so being able to have this kind of a mouthpiece, like a pop setup, that I feel like an orchestral player still or a classical player, but I can play commercially if I want to, which is as most that I would do. I'm probably rambling right now.
No. I
So,
love it. I love it.
So, like on my audition for Pershing Zone, I had to play the lead trumpet. It started the final round with "Cool" from West Side Story. So you have to be able to do that to win the audition. It's not, we were just talking about this. We're making a military band excerpt book. We're trying to publish that right now, which will come out soon. And I was talking to Ryan Brewer about this. There's two ways you have to play this: as a section classical player or as someone who's a crossover lead player. And in the field band, if someone goes down and you have a concert coming up, anyone's got to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just for a day, it might not be. So I was able to do it cleanly, within style. I mean, you probably would be like, okay, you got, that was check mark there, and that's the way I play commercials sometimes. I'm always trying to get better at it, but yeah.
Well, it's really funny that you mentioned that specifically, because yesterday I was talking to Josh about how they won't hire somebody who can't go play taps. They need somebody to go play, in the blues, they need someone who can sit in with any ensemble. And in your shoes, in the ceremonial band, they need somebody who can go the other way. So it's sort of, having a crossover on everybody who's sort of joining the band, which is really cool.
Yeah, anyone should be able to do it, pretty much. And thank God we have Josh, so I never have to. He actually, I talked to him about it already, so it's cool. He's probably like, okay, I guess I'm doing this now. He's gonna record West Side Story as a duet and on the backpack that excerpt. So I'm really excited to have Josh come in and just nail the piss out of that. He's so awesome.
He is unbelievable human being and trumpet player and just wealth of knowledge. He's the nicest guy. I love watching, and that's something that's really fun is I had heard of him, basically on social media and you on social media and seeing people come out and post stuff. I knew you started an Instagram during COVID, during quarantine, after, all of that stuff. You came in and you started posting on Instagram, which I think is the best place to see awesome trumpet these days.
You're totally right. My military trumpet jobs Instagram has done really well. I sort of teetered off. I'm the worst millennial ever. I did not know what Instagram was until like halfway through the pandemic, and someone was like, "You should get Instagram," and I was like, "What?" So I opened it up, and I was like, all my friends are on there, all their pets are on there. Like I'm like, am I the only one who doesn't know about this? But yeah, it's such a great way to connect and collaborate and just kind of share. I love it's the age of information. I love it.
I have a weird, you were just talking about playing that stuff on your audition. And I loved seeing, I think there was an Incredibles excerpt that you did, one of the early ones that you posted, which was really cool to watch that being played, I watch a lot of that kind of stuff being played in a very like big band heavy environment, but just, that gets played in concert bands too. And you need a player that can play with that style, um, who might not as often play that style. So it's cool to, to hear that, and the shakes and everything super clean and everything. But if something like that got thrown on your audition, this is like a weird, I guess, like nerdy trumpet thing. I know that everyone who watches this podcast might not be a trumpet player, but would you, what are your thoughts on like switching equipment? Like when you get thrown something, or if some, you have to sight read something that's up high and more lead stuff, would you play it on whatever, mouthpieces in your horn, or that kind of stuff? What are your thoughts on that?
No, whatever you know equipment works the best, the path of least resistance. And I never used to be like that. And the longer I've done this job, say like, I don't know, like I I could play that excerpt. I worked it up. I can play that part. It wouldn't be what you would want to hear, but I mean, I would use a lead mouthpiece. And luckily, we have people like Ryan Brewer in the field, who was in the field band, to do that. And I it was awesome. I got to play third or fourth, which is still kind of high. But I was able to do the shakes and the turns, and I did put a smaller mouthpiece in, so I'd match the tessitura of Ryan a lot better. And I've learned a ton from him and another guy named John Altman, who's lead in the JAs, the Jazz Ambassadors. And he said, and we did Midwest thing once, and I was playing with him. Uh, he he is just I learned a lot about mouthpieces in the week that I sat with him and did that. Just an amazing trumpet player, really great guy. Like what the path of least resistance. Play the small mouthpiece to get the right color and the right sound. A one C.
But like mid audition.
I would, yeah, absolutely. I did that every time. I picked up a different
Oh,
mouth to do that. I think my audition I played Cottontail, the shout section. And I absolutely switched to a smaller mouthpiece for that. And like I'm able to play it. I'm not super confident about that style, but I'm at least able to do it. If someone put it
yeah.
like a gun to my head,
That,
I'd be like, then God, I would, I can play it.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's just so much going on. I was also talking. It's funny that I'm talking to you and Josh sort of back to back, and coming from that area. I lived there my whole life in the DC area. Went to high school in Arlington and everything. And um, it's really cool the amount of players. I was talking to Josh about this yesterday. The amount of players that are there that are just killing it, that are playing every day, play every style of music, and there's so much work in that area. No one really talks of, not that I know of, talks about like DC as a mecca for music. And it's really not, I guess, for like movies and hardcore swinging jazz, but like the sheer amount of musicians and talent and people that you've heard on recordings all over the world. It's just crazy what DC in that area has to offer, I think.
Yeah, it is definitely an incredible. There are so many good trumpet players. There's so many good trumpet players in the world. It's very humbling, and especially in DC, it's so humbling to sit
Especially
down.
with YouTube, with Facebook, with social media. You go, man, I'm getting pretty good, and then you turn on some guy in Russia is just like screaming something that you never thought was possible.
Yeah, I it's been a humbling journey for me, and it's always a humbling experience to perform with my colleagues and the people in the DC area, and especially the collaborations. Hear people like you and all these other collaborations that have happened and come out since the pandemic. It's just been an incredible learning experience, which is great because we're musicians, we're students for life. We're always trying to get better, which is just awesome.
Yeah, one of the craziest things that happened right at the beginning of the pandemic, I started posting in different groups on Facebook, and just rinky-dink little lead parts that I just wanted to record. Thought it was fun to post out there, and I get a message on Facebook from a guy who I hope to have on this podcast at some point named Kaizad Patel. And um, he said, "Hi, I'm a composer and an assistant conductor with the Symphony Orchestra of India, and we would love to have you play on a few recordings that we're doing." And I first thought, there is no way that this is real. And he started talking to me about, the logistics of, it's an orchestra, and they have people from, from different places playing it, and they were putting together the national anthem of India. And he told me, I mean, he said it was played in movie theaters all around the country, like all this stuff. And um, he wanted me to play on it. And we're like 4 trumpet players. He just found me on social media. So I sent in, I played principal, like I played the first part, and for the Symphony Orchestra of India. And he like called me when our times lined up, and he was like showing me he was in a recording studio in India, and he put it all together. I saw the final video that was like a really cool thing that was put together, and he writes for movies, for Netflix shows, and like I genuinely did not believe it at first, but like it was a very real thing. And he's killing it, and he's very knowledgeable, and he does a lot of composing and conducting, and it's just crazy. Like it literally blew my mind that I'm a little, not a real professional trumpet player. I teach elementary school, and I play as much as I can. And
You are absolutely professional. You sound fantastic, and I'm not as that guy called you. That's awesome.
I was
That's an
I
awesome
was
story.
I was thankful for that opportunity. And I was played in movie theaters in all over India, which is what at least he said, which is really cool. And played with guys in South America, and just people that reach out saying, "Hey, I'm doing this thing, you want to play?" And it's been the coolest thing, the coolest part of it for me.
That's awesome. That's a wonderful story.
Yeah, and now in Atlanta, where there's a lot of good musicians in Atlanta. It kind of feels like music in Atlanta is, I wouldn't say coming back, but there's definitely a lot of people who are playing different places. Definitely precautions being taken, and I've been doing a couple recordings. Playing with a couple at a couple jams, and music kind of breaking out all over the place. And um, there's a group of musicians who are putting together these virtual big band recordings. And in the age where everyone now has a mic and an interface and some way to record themselves, it's becoming easy. I remember Ryan Chapman was looking to have people record for something, and I reached out to him, and he was like, "Hey, do you have a setup at home?" And I said, "Not really." He was like, "Well, everybody in this day and age needs to be able to record themselves, needs to be able to know how to use the software, how to make themselves sound good, where to put a mic, all this stuff." And that's why I've enjoyed talking to people like Vinny Shishelsky, and get a lot of guidance on how to record yourself, how to use the stuff, and trial and error, and all that kind of stuff. And you put together some fantastic sounding recordings. And I know you were showing me your mic setup and your room mics and all that kind of stuff.
That's definitely changed quite a bit. So I sold my R10 and I spent way too much money on a Royer 122. Um, and I just active ribbon. I love that thing so much. I got a SMB7, and yeah, it's been a learning experience for sure because I never had this until now. Same with the videography. Um, it's such a like a fun project. I After inauguration, after being around all the monuments, I thought it'd be a really cool thing to do, like with Malice Toward None in the Lincoln Memorial, which you'd never be able to do. But I just thought it just kind of cool to put that together and learn how to do it. And I've had church gigs where I've had to adapt, where I've played in that church, but not actually be there. So I have a green screen, and organist gives me a track. I play along with the track. I put it together, and I put it, the church behind me, and they put it on the virtual stream.
That's
And that's how
cool.
I've gotten a bunch of gigs. And I posted one thing from a church once. And I had about 4 churches reach out to me for a few gigs each, and it's been great. I
And
still I still miss a lot of performances.
Yeah, there's not much
Real
like,
reverb.
yeah, I was just gonna say that there's not much like hearing your sound go out into the church.
And I've had a bunch of, safe in a safe way. I've, up on a balcony by myself with the organist, or socially distanced with a quintet. And oh my God, it's in a real church. I just like playing in real reverb with other people, and the little things that you take for granted when you do them with other people.
Yeah,
You know, I cannot.
my cousin got married in the Naval Academy Chapel. I don't know if you've ever visited the Naval Academy Chapel, but
Awesome.
it's huge. It's really big. And she asked me, because my cousin's husband graduated there from the Naval Academy, and is a pilot right now for the Navy. And I got to play. She asked me to play trumpet voluntary on piccolo, um, with the organist there. And on the day of the rehearsal, not the day of the wedding, was the first time I played with the organist. And this was a few years ago. And the organist told me, like, you will never overpower me. She said, you literally have to essentially play as loud as you possibly can. And it was really cool. Like, the organist was,
Challenge accepted.
I know. And when she started playing, I realized there really was no way for me to play louder. I mean, it like shook the hair on my head. It was so loud, but playing back that like hundreds of feet to the back of the church, it was such a surreal experience playing into that
Yeah,
kind of environment.
a bunch of my friends at the Naval Academy band play there all the time, and they have like these brass ensemble concerts that sound so glorious in that place. That's definitely a special place to play.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe I'm one of the people that's played there. I just can't believe it. You were talking about your video editing, your style, like the your videos have sort of evolved, I feel like, for military trumpet jobs, and what you've landed on, at least as of right now, with the two people, and I know they're probably virtual, right? They're two virtual people, and they look like they're facing each other, and the music at the bottom, the background, like it all is it's very you, like it's sort of like your style now for your brand, and I love it. I think it's very pleasing to watch and things like that.
That means so much that you say that, because yeah, we sort of, it's been a journey to figure that out, and now we figured it out, and I feel like that's great. I'm so glad that you said that, like that's our brand, because that's, like the background with the gradient, and then superimposing one of us with the other. And then I did one with Chris Smith, and is awesome trumpet player, and we put like the Queen behind us, Queen of England,
Yeah,
because we were doing
yeah.
Holst. And I just put myself in with the royal family, going like, "Ooh, you." But
Yeah,
yeah.
they
Okay.
look great. Are you putting those together? Are you learning, doing all the video editing and stuff?
Well, that's mostly Ryan Brewer. Yeah, everyone does a different thing. Ryan does the video. I've done a few of the videos, but he does most of them. Yeah, we use Final Cut with that, and we key. Yeah, it's just cool. We put the music in on the bottom. I put myself in there with the green screen. Um, yeah, it's with a click track. They play, we play. It's a difficult process, but it's very rewarding.
I for one love having the music in the video, seeing the music. That's one thing that I started to do a little bit during quarantine, is mess around with putting screenshots of music on there so that people can follow along, because someone was actually asking me about that the other day, because um, they started a new Instagram page called Boring Trumpet Exercises. Like, very blunt. These are boring trumpet exercises. And they had a couple different styles um, having the music first, and then the next video them playing it, or having them playing it and then the music on the next page, or having it on top of each other. And that's what I said, was just go with the one where they're on the same page, because you can listen to it, hear what it sounds like, see what it looks like, and get a better concept of it. I think that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I really enjoy your videos. I think there was a Count Bubba one where you did that, and you got to see the music going along, and it's just so visually stimulating with that.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
we started adding other things in there too, like backgrounds, and like other images. Maybe the trumpet players and the music are not in there. It pans to another, like the skyline of Washington D.C., that kind of a thing. So it's an ever evolving process. I wish they would teach this in schools, and they did such a disservice by not talking about recording and editing Sibelius notation software to create your own accompaniment, or just your own arrangements. And it's like all the things that are like,
The real
would have
world.
been that would have helped me much. Yeah, the real world application. Instead of you get your 3 concerts this semester with orchestra and your 1 quintet performance, and then your theory, this ancient, well, not ancient, but like, theory that like counter species counterpoint, like why am I doing this kind of a thing? And there was a
Hmm.
lot of great stuff at Manhattan School that I really enjoyed. I'm not knocking my alma mater. There reason I was successful, but with the mock auditions and the teachers and the experiences. But I just wish that for the amount of money that school costs, you would get more for what you pay for. That's a whole nother topic for another day, and I can go about how expensive college is.
Hmm.
It's egregious.
Absolutely. For what we, I mean, I'm in my first year of teaching elementary school. I don't think I'm using just about anything that I learned in college in actual teaching. Everything is what I learned in internship, learned in my music classes, or learned on the job.
100%. I did dual masters where I was getting master's in education from Columbia University, as well as my orchestral performance master's from Manhattan School. And man, it was just like the teaching of philosophies and behavioral, psychology of what might or might have happened. And then you go in there and like you have to actually deal with people. Not every kid is the same, and you can't treat them the same. There's
Or you
no
have
just one
5-year-olds
standard.
throwing things, and that's a
Yes,
very and that's a very they don't tell you how to deal with that.
and yeah, just fully unprepared to go out there like that until you do it, and then you learn and you grow that way based on in the job. And I feel like it's almost similar to like an actual trumpet job too, playing, going on tour and playing repertoire like all the time in concerts. One of my first gigs ever was acting principal trumpet of the China National Symphony Orchestra. We went on a tour where I had to play first B flat on Heldenleben, first on Beethoven 7, Don Juan, and then Rock 2. And it's like, man, that was a journey in figuring everything out. They just don't teach you that stuff in school. It's sort of like you're on your own, have fun.
Yeah.
So I didn't know you.
Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't. You're teaching elementary school. You're
Yeah, I have 1,000 students, 800 of which are in the building. Yeah, it's a lot. It's K through fifth grade. Um, it's a whole lot of fun. It really is a whole lot of fun. I love the kids. I love learning their names. I love building a relationship with them and them enjoying coming to music class. And I think I do things in a different style to the last music teacher that was there, and so it's just sort of like it's like a whole different special for them, I think, a little bit, which is really fun to have them come in and really be like, oh, like if they pass my room, they go, oh, I want to come to music class, and that's like the best thing. I really enjoy teaching.
when I retire, I would love to teach. In 12 years from the Army, and I can retire, that blows my mind. That's
Yeah,
sooner rather than later. In my head, that's sooner rather than later, probably a long time. But yeah, I would love to teach. And yeah, elementary school music, it just sounds like so much fun.
we
You
do a lot
know,
of like parachute stuff. We do a lot of movement relay races and scarf routines and things like that. And I actually got a grant to purchase at the end of 2020, purchased 35 ukuleles. So we're doing ukulele with 4th and 5th grade instead of recorders this year because of COVID precautions and things. And they're really enjoying, instead of the squeaky sound of the recorder, being able to strum a chord and it sound good, things
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
they're also realizing how much more difficult a string instrument is than cartoons or movies or TV shows make it look.
Absolutely. 100%. But yeah, what you do is awesome. That's really cool, man.
It's really fun.
Like a badass trumpet player, you're also teaching elementary school music. That is awesome.
Well, what's fun is teaching the kids, and I really enjoy teaching the kids. I will readily say it's not the most musically stimulating experience, as opposed to just graduating from college, taking theory and music history and performing in all these ensembles. But what's fun is it affords me the time to go out and gig and record and meet musicians and play at jams and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of days after I teach, I go out and play the trumpet and, am a professional musician and trying as hard as I can to make a little bit of extra money playing the horn, and any money playing the trumpet is a bonus because the trumpet is fun enough to do. So having the ability to do both on a daily basis is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, you you are an awesome trumpet player with some great skills, a wonderful skill set, and I think I think you're only gonna just continue to play more and just all people have to do is get to talk to you and hear you play, and they'd want to call you.
Thank
So
you. Thank
that's
you.
cool,
Yeah.
man. Keep doing what you're doing. That what a great best of both worlds and meaningful and like that's great.
It really is fun. And one last thing that stuck out to me that I would love for you to tell this story one more time, because I've told this story to a couple people. You told me about when you were, I believe it when you were going back for your master's, and you took a specific audition, and at another school other than Manhattan School of Music in New York City, and the person who auditioned before you was a noteworthy person. Can you sort of
Oh,
that story was just the funniest thing that I've ever heard, because I was just like, you got to be kidding me. What sort of
that
happened
person
there?
has done that as well. That's happened to me twice. Um, at a Juilliard audition for my master's, I remember hearing right before me, this incredible Brandenburg 2, followed by like the opening of Tomasi and just some of the most incredible trumpet playing I've ever heard. And and then at the same time, I'm auditioning later on, 2 years after that, this Carnegie Hall Orchestra Fellowship thing. Like it's one of the programs there. It's like the resident orchestra there, and it's like an outreach. And like I've sent my tape in. I'm in the finals for that. It's like a whole full recital, and it's like I think Ray Mace was there. It's like all the principals of the New York Phil were judging, and like Ray Mace, Mark Gould, and so like I'm there, and I'm like stoked. I feel really good and about to play, and I hear like Cascades being played and Avatar, all these incredible solos. And I was just like, wow, like Phil there or something before listening to me. And the same person who popped out in both rooms, just super nice to me, is Caleb Hudson. He and I are the same age, so every time I auditioned for anything growing up, Caleb Hudson would always be there, and he'd always play like right before me, and it was like I was don't think you do it, but he's like the nice human being, and he just sounds so unreal good. And every time I've auditioned for something like my master's or my undergrad, even he also was right before me, and then this Carnegie Hall orchestra thing. He always
That's
be
a little,
right
yeah, that's a
there
little bit of
coming out
a
of the
curse.
rooms after he sounded like
I mean, that's like
yeah. Talk
my
about humbling.
yeah, and my roommate who in college, Wilson Childers, the guy with the big beard and the long hair, who hopefully will come on and do one of these with me at some point. I lived with him for 3 years, and we were auditioning for the same quintets and stuff. And I mean, he's getting his master's at Juilliard, and he's we would be playing in our trumpet ensemble, which was completely student run, which was a really fun experience. It was the first experience that I had where 5 undergraduate trumpet players put our minds together, buckled down, talked about, intonation on every chord, phrasing, breath, balance, like absolutely every aspect, and worked 3 nights a week, on doing this stuff. And Wilson would run all of the rehearsals, and we would play, something, and then he would be like, all right, let's go back and forth on that passage, like, him and me. And so the rest of the group would go out into wherever, the seats where we were rehearsing, and I would play something. I would play the line that I was, I had my part, and then he would play it back to me, and we were supposed to go back and forth, and I just had to stop and just crack up, like, I'm sorry, but like, it's not gonna sound like that. As hard as I try, I will not sound like that when I'm, going back and forth against you. And we all, like, everybody in the room had the same feeling and just cracked up every time he was like, all right, let's go back and forth on that. And he was like, what's going on? He has no idea how good he sounds. It's just unbelievable. But yeah, having him right next to me and in my house for 3 years, rehearsing, playing trumpet, it was a very, very humbling experience.
I'm sure he felt the exact same way when you were just singing those lead parts, man.
Well, we used to have a lot of fun whenever we would warm up. Well, let's just say warm down for on the record. Whenever we would warm down, not warm up, we would take our lead pieces and just like play as many loud high, go back and forth, G G G G G, G, and it was really fun. That Yeah,
Oh man, I love trumpet. The
typical undergrad stuff.
Yeah, there's way too many like awesome people, awesome trumpet players out there that it's almost great to like not, like actually after he played, I was like, well, I'm probably not going to get this, and that's some of the best I've ever played were those 2 auditions.
Hmm.
It's and I think sometimes you just have to go into it, feeling that way. Like there are just so many good trumpet players. I'm going to play my best, and I'm going to enjoy myself because you may or may not get it. And I think that's such a good mindset, and it's good to know that, you know, get out of someone for them to get out of their bubble, which is why this is such a great podcast. Being able to step into other people's shoes and so many different facets of the trumpet community.
Absolutely. I don't want to take up your whole night. I understand, you have a family, you have a life, and probably some practicing and video editing and audio editing to do. But Kevin, I really, really appreciate you coming on here. What you're doing for the music community and the trumpet community specifically is very admirable, and we all appreciate all the work that you're putting in. And I mean, I can tell you, I send all your videos off to my friends, like, listen to this and watch this video, and listen in the Bud Not Corona group, that excerpt group, hearing your interpretation of even like Amazing Grace, when we did Amazing Grace or whatever, I would send that to Degody, and he'd be like, there's Kevin just being Kevin again. And having people like you out there and in the community, and chatting and just open to sharing your experience and your knowledge is such a great thing. And I really appreciate it. And hopefully people who listen to this will get something great out of it. I definitely think they will.
Well, I thank you so much for having me on, and I could say 100%, 120% the same thing to you. Thank you for putting this together. I'm looking forward to the lineup of people you have.
We got some good ones coming
just
up.
a cool.
Yeah, thank
Yeah, well,
you.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and keep putting some great stuff out.
Yeah, you mind listening to something real quick?
Not at all.
Cool. So, 2 mouthpieces that I ended up getting. Where is it? There it is. I have a symphonic, a Bach, 1 1/4 symphonic. It's a 24-26, and I have just a stock 1 1/4. I'm just curious what you think. You may not probably be able to hear with this condenser, but. hear that okay?
Yeah, very well.
All right, so that's that. And here that's the 24, 26, 24. This is the stock. Let me get the water out of my horn.
I prefer the first one.
I'm gonna do that again. Me too. I don't know if it's too big though. So let me play one thing that's like. So that's the stock, and this is the 26, 24.
There's the
You hear
first
that
one.
okay?
Yeah. The first one sounds like a great trumpet sound. That one sounds like there's a little, two words come to mind. It's like a little more pillowy, but like a little bit more meaty. It's just like the core of the sound is bigger and broader and warmer. I love that gold one.
Yeah. Cool. So it's a little bit more depth, but it doesn't lose resonance, does it?
Not at all. No. It's sort of like
Okay,
I
so
picture like a circle with like little thing. I don't know. I have an image of it in my head that will make no sense to you, but definitely does not lose anything. It just gains a little bit more in the middle, just a little bit more umph.
last thing I'll play for you on a C for both. Do you hear a pop on the articulation?
I definitely do from where I'm sitting.
Dude, I love this mouthpiece. The only thing I'm worried about is since I'm playing stock for so long, I used to play this in college, a bigger mouthpiece. I wonder how the endurance is going to be. But everything just got so much better, especially upper register. Like I used to be a little bit more flat in the upper register on this.
Hmm.
Pick this up and it's not flat. It's weird how a bit open backboard does that.
All right, have
Did you
you
think it would be
have you done any experimenting with shorter mouthpieces? Or I know that's box stuff. This would be very much non-box stuff. But I'm playing on a Lotus 2L plus, and that plus means
okay?
it's shorter.
I've been meaning. I want to try a Lotus mouthpiece. A lot of people are switching to them. Like Chris Coletti. There's a lot of people that switch to a Lotus, and I was gonna call the company, and I keep forgetting to do it. Be like, what's the 1.25 equivalent? I'll buy it. Just to
One and a
have. If
quarter.
I don't like it, it's great. I have.
That's from what I understand is probably going to be a 1L plus. So you can either get a. So I have a 2L plus. The 2L is like a 1.5 equivalent. It's equivalent to a 1.5. The plus means it's a hair shorter, similar to like what Monet's doing, where they talk about how the conventional mouthpiece was built for A trumpets, and so on a B flat trumpet, the octaves and the extreme ranges are out of tune because their view of trumpet is that the standard conventional B flat mouthpiece is too long for a B flat trumpet. So they shortened it a little bit, and they do these demonstrations of the octaves just locking in, and it makes it easier to play, especially upstairs. Like I
It's
see,
yeah, for the Venturi. So I understand how the physics of that works. The less distance and the flare opening up, and it just hits the Venturi the right way. Well, that makes sense. Well, I'm excited to try that. I've been meaning to try it. Now I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. But yeah,
yeah,
for now, like this thing, I'm so I decided to go back to a bigger amount. Plus, gold just feels better on my face. And maybe I'm getting older or something. Let me play something low, and I swear I'll let you go.
no, yeah, no, no worries at all. Man, your
I
low
feel like a
sound is
guitar.
something.
It sounds focused, or does it sound focused to you? Like the articulation on that?
Yeah,
'Cause it
yeah.
feels great. I just yeah, I don't know, like I'm just like so worried I'm gonna like fall into it, but I haven't yet, and it's been weeks, so I've passed the honeymooning period, so I'm still like, Ugh. But if I were to like,
Dagodi switched from a Lasky that he'd been playing for years to a much bigger Park mouthpiece. And I remember when he had the switch and he kept playing for people and going back and forth. He loved the sound. It was the articulation that he was nervous about, and he ended up sticking to the bigger mouthpiece.
yeah, I mean that, yeah, that's a little bit of what I'm. So if I were to go from low to high, I feel good with it. It doesn't feel like I'm. I just feel like I don't know. It's like a little bit more. Just I'm a little like relaxed into it. Maybe because I'm in shape. I don't know.
How do you feel in the upper register with it?
It's a journey, definitely easy. I feel
Really?
like it's weird because I thought a bigger, made it harder. I don't know. I said bigger backboard was maybe harder to use, and or maybe I'm just like, just now, like have gotten better over the years. Because when I was younger, when I used a bigger backboard, I always felt like I struggled with upper register. Maybe I'm just an older, stronger player or something. But it's weird how like a stock smaller mouthpiece makes me flatter in the upper register, and an open backbore and throat, I'm actually going sharper. It's weird. And then I was talking to Josh, and he plays a huge ass backbore on lead. So I don't know. Maybe that's just like a thing that I wasn't as efficient, because all you lead players are super efficient when you're playing.
I I would disagree with myself, but I know a lot of people are.
Anyway, yeah, I could talk trumpet all day. I don't want to talk your ear off.
No, no,
Uh,
thank you so much, and I love listening to you play, even just there, and
oh, thank dude. Yeah. Well, whenever you're in DC, are your parents still here or
yeah,
no?
my parents live in Leesburg.
Oh, dude. Post Rona, I'm gonna buy you a beer, and we're gonna play some duets, and you're
Yeah,
gonna
I
we're gonna talk equipment. You're gonna show me your Lotus, and then we gotta yeah, it'll be great. It'll be a
let's
fun hang, and
let's
I'll force you
absolutely do it.
have Josh.
Yeah,
All right, man, dude.
awesome.
Well, yeah, take care, and I'm looking forward to the other podcast stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day, Kevin.
You too, man. Bye, dude.
Bye.